Okay, so are you ready for another deep dive?
Always ready.
Hit me.
All right, so today we're doing something a little different. We're playing detective, kind of.
Ooh.
Yeah, like we're piecing together a lost world. But not with, like ancient ruins or anything. It's with these scattered clues about this whole fictional universe.
Interesting. Where are these clues coming from?
Okay, so our source material is from this person online. They go by Wild Wolf 3310.
Wild Wolf 3310. Catchy. So what have they given us to work with?
Posts, hints, that kind of thing. And let me tell you, it's shaping up to be a wild story. I'm talking time travel, betrayal, maybe even forces that could, reshape reality.
Sounds like my kind of jam. So we're trying to figure out what this fictional world is all about based on these little breadcrumbs. It's like being handed a few puzzle pieces and trying to imagine the whole picture, huh?
Exactly. What would you say is the most important thing to keep in mind when we only have these little snippets of information?
Well, observation is key, of course. You got to really pay attention to every detail. And then deduction. We have to use the clues we have to figure out what they mean for the bigger picture. Like, are there any recurring themes? What kind of connections can we make between the different pieces of information?
Right. It's all about connecting those dots.
Yeah.
So let's start with the title, Echoes of the Future. What does that even mean?
Ooh, now that's a good one. Echoes of the future. I mean, first thought, it definitely sounds epic, right? Like something big is going down.
Oh, for sure. Epic is the word.
Yeah.
What else? Anything else jump out at you?
Well, echo's right. It makes you think about consequences, like how choices made in the past can echo forward and change everything.
Yeah, that ripple effect, like throwing a stone in a pond.
Exactly. And there's also this sense of time being cyclical, maybe, that the past isn't really past, but it keeps influencing the present.
Totally. It's like the past is always right there, breathing down your neck. Okay, but now, hold on. We've got this character, too. Alara. What a name.
Ilara. Yeah. Unusual name, right? You don't hear that every day.
Not at all. And I actually looked it up. Turns out Ilara is a moon of Jupiter. What do you make of that? Why would Wild Wolf 3310 choose that name?
Okay, yeah. That's got to be deliberate. They're trying to tell us something.
Right. Yeah.
I mean, think about it. A moon, it's always orbiting a planet, right? It's never really its own thing.
Right.
What if Alara, the character, is like that? What if she's influenced by forces beyond her control? Like she's being pulled along by destiny or something.
Ooh, I like that. That she's not totally free. Okay, and get this. In season 1, she starts to uncover this hidden truth about her reality.
Ooh, juicy. Okay, what kind of truth are we talking?
Well, remember how we talked about time travel? It's definitely involved.
No way. Okay, this just got real. Time travel always throws a wrench in the works. What's it like in this world? Is it just hopping back and forth, or is there something more to it?
Think timelines.
Yeah.
Converging. Potentially unraveling.
Whoa, okay, hold on. Converging timelines. That's a whole other can of worms. We're talking paradoxes, alternate realities, the whole 9 yards. What happens when different versions of reality collide? Does time fracture?
And she's not just dealing with all that. There's betrayal, too.
Betrayal, huh? Makes you wonder who's betraying who and why. Does it tie into the time travel stuff?
It's got to be connected somehow, right?
Yeah.
Oh, and then there are these cosmic forces. Now, what are those all about?
Okay, cosmic forces. Now, that's where things get really interesting. I mean, we're talking about something way beyond the everyday.
Right. Are we talking literal gods here? Or some other kind of crazy, powerful beings?
That's the million-dollar question. It could be so many things. Time-bending phenomena, otherworldly beings, even the manipulation of fate itself. Whatever it is, it sounds like Alara's facing some serious, serious challenges. And not just external, maybe internal too. What if these cosmic forces represent her own inner struggles?
That's deep, man. Deep.
Right. And then it all culminates in this huge sacrifice that Alara makes. Supposedly it's for the future, but what is she giving up and why?
Exactly. That's what's killing me. What does she sacrifice, and what does it tell us about her? About the world she lives in?
I mean, think about it. Is it something tangible like her life? Or her freedom? Or maybe it's something more abstract like her memories or her identity?
Man, it's hard to even wrap your head around it. And the whole time I keep thinking about Wild Wolf 3310. Who is this person who created this whole world?
It's like they've dropped us right into this mystery, given us these pieces and said, okay, figure it out.
Yeah, like a big cosmic puzzle. So let's try to put it all together. We've got time travel, betrayal, cosmic forces, a protagonist making these crazy choices. It's a story that's both epic and personal at the same time.
Totally. And the thing is, we're just scratching the surface. These little bits of information, they're like a doorway into this huge, complex universe.
Yeah.
Exactly. And that's where you come in, right? We've laid out the pieces, but it's up to you to try to assemble them. What would you do if you were in Alara's shoes? What would you sacrifice for the future?
Keep thinking about it. Keep asking those questions. Maybe you'll even find some answers or even deeper mysteries hidden within the story.
I think that's a good place to leave it for today. Until next time.
Keep exploring.
And keep those theories coming.
You never know what you might find.
Hey everyone, and welcome back for another deep dive with us. So today we're going to be doing something a little different. Usually we're diving deep into research papers or news articles.
Yeah.
But you guys sent us something really interesting, an audio drama script
Oh, wow.
called Echoes of the Future. And it's got everything you could want in a good sci-fi story. Time travel,
Time travel. AI.
a futuristic city, and tons of ethical dilemmas. So
I'm intrigued already.
yeah, right.
Sounds like a fascinating deep dive.
It is. So we're going to jump headfirst into the year 2145. And I think
Yeah.
it's been a wild ride.
I love it when fiction kind of uses those worlds to reflect like our anxieties, about the future
Right.
and aspirations.
Absolutely.
It's like holding up a mirror to our relationship with technology and the choices that we make.
And speaking of choices, the script starts off
Mm-hmm.
with this brilliant scientist, Dr. Alora Kent. And she is driven by this insatiable thirst for knowledge.
I like her already.
Right. She's got access to this device called the echo chamber,
Mhm.
which basically lets her experience the past, present, and future. Can you imagine having that power?
That's it's a really tantalizing concept. To be able to witness history firsthand, to see how our actions play out over time.
Yeah.
I think it really taps into that human desire to understand not just where we came from, but where we might be going.
Totally. But as you might expect, things get a little complicated.
Of course they do.
There wouldn't be a story otherwise.
Exactly. There's this character, Ethan, who seems to be like both a colleague and a voice of caution to Alara. He warns her about the potential dangers of the echo chamber, hinting at something called echoes that could have some serious consequences.
Okay, so I find that dynamic so interesting because, it's like those warnings that he gives. It's like our own real-world concerns about the rapid pace of technology. It's like that voice in the back of all of our minds that asks, just because we can do something, does that mean we should? It's like those anxieties we have about AI today,
Yeah.
but blown up to a whole new level,
That's
this
sick.
future world.
Right, exactly.
But Alara, driven by her curiosity, she kind of brushes those warnings off,
Oh, no.
doesn't she?
Classic. It's like that classic trope, the brilliant but maybe overconfident scientist
Yeah.
pushing the boundary.
Always got to put so bad.
Always got to push it, sometimes to their detriment. And of course, the script throws a curveball.
Oh, yeah.
The echo chamber malfunctions, and Alara gets thrown into this chaotic experience of fragmented time.
Okay, so here's where it gets really interesting. We're talking distorted realities, temporal leaps, and potentially even paradoxes.
Uh-huh.
The script really doesn't shy away from the mind-bending aspects of time travel.
Mm-hmm.
Like at one point,
Yeah.
Alara encounters a younger version of herself, which, creates a paradox, right?
Yeah. A time travel paradox,
Yeah.
in the simplest terms,
Mm.
is a situation where cause and effect get all tangled up because of time travel. Think of it like this. If you went back in time and prevented your parents from meeting, would you still exist?
Whoa!
It's like
Mind blown.
those kinds of head-scratching scenarios
Right.
that the script starts to explore.
My head is already spinning.
Mhm.
But I think it's amazing how, even with all the sci-fi elements, the script also looks at the potential psychological impact of this temporal chaos.
I think that's a crucial aspect. That often gets overlooked, in time travel stories, as the script doesn't just focus on the cool gadgets and adventures. It examines how such an experience might affect Alara, mentally and emotionally.
Right.
Imagine being bombarded with fragmented memories, distorted perceptions of time. It would be incredibly disorienting.
It makes you think about what kind of toll time travel would take on a person, even if they weren't caught in a malfunctioning echo chamber.
Exactly. It highlights the idea that messing with time might not just be physically dangerous, but psychologically damaging as well.
Right.
And this is where the script's exploration of Alara's emotional journey becomes really compelling.
Okay, so we've got time travel, potential paradoxes, psychological drama.
Mm.
But wait, there's more.
There's always more.
The script also introduces these mysterious figures, that start appearing around Alara. And it hints at some kind of conspiracy, something bigger going on, behind the scenes.
Ooh, it definitely adds a layer of intrigue and suspense. It makes you wonder, are these figures connected to the echoes that Ethan warned about? Are they trying to help Alara or manipulate her?
Yeah.
The script expertly weaves together these elements of sci-fi and mystery and human drama, just keeping us on the edge of our seats.
Amidst all the chaos, there's also this theme of redemption that starts to emerge. Alara feels this immense guilt over what's happened, and she's determined to fix things, even if it means risking everything.
That's such a powerful element. You know, Alara isn't just a passive victim of circumstance. She's actively wrestling with the consequences of her actions and fighting to regain control of her destiny. And it raises the question, can we truly undo our past mistakes? Or are we forever shaped by them?
It makes you wonder if, even with the power to change the past, we can ever truly escape the consequences of our choices. It's a theme that's both timeless and incredibly relevant to our own lives.
Exactly. And speaking of choices, the script throws another curveball.
Another one.
Alara makes a monumental decision, a sacrifice that will have far-reaching consequences.
I don't want to spoil it for our listener, but let's just say it's a gut-wrenching moment. That forces us to confront the complex ethics of time travel. Is it ever justifiable to manipulate the past, even if it's done with good intentions?
That's the question the script leaves us grappling with. You know, Alara's act raises all sorts of ethical and philosophical dilemmas about the nature of time, the ripple effects of our actions, and the potential for both good and harm. When we tamper with the past...
It's like the script is saying, even with the ability to change the past, we can never fully predict the consequences. And that sometimes the most difficult choices are the ones that force us to confront our own values and beliefs.
Such a powerful message that resonates long after the story ends.
Okay, so much to think about. Before we dive even deeper, I think it's time for a quick recap.
Good idea.
Just to kind of get our bearings.
Yeah, okay.
So, we've been thrown into this futuristic world where technology, like the echo chamber, allows exploration of time, but at a potential cost.
Right.
We've met Dr. Alara Kent, a brilliant scientist wrestling with the consequences of her choices, and Ethan, who serves as that voice of caution.
Yes.
We've encountered malfunctioning tech, mind-bending paradoxes, and mysterious figures lurking in the shadows.
So many twists and turns.
So many.
We've only just begun to explore the ethical dilemmas and the profound questions about our relationship with time and technology, and even our own humanity. Whew, it's a lot to process.
It is a lot.
But before we continue, I have a question for you, our listener. If you had access to the echo chamber, would you use it? And what precautions would you take to avoid those unintended consequences that we've been talking about? That's a great question to ponder. And while you're thinking about that, we'll be back soon for part 2 of our deep dive into Echoes of the Future.
Stay tuned.
Welcome back to the deep dive. We left off with that question. You know, would you use the echo chamber knowing the risks involved? It's a real dilemma, makes you think about your own curiosity and anxieties about the unknown.
Yeah, it's a tough one.
Yeah.
Part of me is like, yeah, let's go explore all the time. But then there's that other voice that's like, be careful what you wish for.
Right.
But before we get too lost in our hypothetical time-traveling adventures, let's get back to Echoes of the Future and see what else we can find.
Okay, sounds good. We left off with Alara kind of dealing with the fallout from that huge decision she made, the one with all the consequences.
Right, that act of sacrifice. It really made me think about how, even with the best intentions, our actions can have those unintended ripple effects, especially when you're messing with something as powerful as time travel.
Oh, absolutely. It's like a classic theme in time travel stories. The script doesn't give us any easy answers, which is what makes it so compelling.
Right.
It challenges us to think about what it means to change the past, even if it's done to prevent something terrible from happening.
Yeah, and it makes you wonder about those unintended consequences. Like, what if Alara's actions created a whole new set of problems? It's almost like a warning about playing God, even with something like time travel.
That's a great point. It brings us back to that idea of responsibility we talked about earlier. If we ever figure out how to manipulate time, who gets to decide what changes are made, and what are the safeguards to prevent those disastrous outcomes?
Big questions, for sure. It's like the script is pushing us to think beyond just the cool sci-fi concepts and actually grapple with the real ethical dilemmas that come with this kind of technology.
Exactly. It's not just about the science of time travel. It's about the human side of it. The choices we make and the consequences of those choices, both the ones we intend and the ones we don't.
Right. And speaking of the human element, The script also shows how all this time bending really affects Alara. We already talked about the potential trauma, but it seems like it changes her relationships with everyone around her, too.
Definitely remember Ethan, the voice of caution. Well, their dynamic gets even more complicated. Secrets come out, trust is tested. They go from colleagues to something more. But it's definitely strained by everything they've gone through.
It's like the relationship becomes this little example of the bigger themes in the script. Trust betrayal. The struggle to stay connected when things get really crazy. Makes you wonder if their bond would have been stronger if Alara had actually listened to his warnings about the echo chamber.
It's an interesting question. It makes you think about how important communication and trust are in any relationship, especially when you're dealing with something as powerful and potentially dangerous as time travel.
For sure. And it's not just about Alara and Ethan either. Remember those mysterious figures we talked about? The ones who seem to be pulling the strings behind the scenes?
Oh, yes. The mystery surrounding those figures keeps you guessing the whole time. Their motives are unclear, and you never really know if they're trying to help Alara or use her for their own purposes. That suspense just adds another layer to the story.
Yeah. I was trying to figure out who to trust the whole time.
Yeah.
It's like the script is reflecting our own real-world anxieties about hidden agendas and manipulation, especially in a world where technology gives people so much power.
Such a good connection. The script really taps into those deep-seated fears we have about the unknown, about things beyond our control shaping our lives.
It's like those echoes themselves, right? At first they seem random, but as the story goes on, you start to see that they might be connected to those mysterious figures and the bigger conspiracy Alara is trying to uncover.
Exactly. And that's where the script's use of symbolism and foreshadowing is really effective. That recurring image of shattered glass, for example. It hints at the fragility of reality, but it also foreshadows how Alara's perception of time and truth is going to be shattered.
I love that. It's like the broken glass becomes this visual representation of her fractured reality as she deals with the consequences of messing with time.
Exactly. It's subtle, but so effective.
Yeah.
It's one of the things that makes the script more than just the simple time travel adventure. It weaves all these complex themes and symbols together to create a truly immersive and thought-provoking experience.
Okay, so we've talked about ethical dilemmas, the psychological impact, the mysterious figures, and even symbolism. Anything else to unpack from the script?
Well, besides all of that, I think it's important to highlight how well the story is told. The pacing is great, balancing quiet moments of reflection with those bursts of action and suspense. And the sound design is incredible, creating this atmosphere of unease and tension that keeps you hooked.
The sound design was so immersive, I could almost feel Ilara's disorientation as she was jumping through time. It was like the sound itself became a character guiding our emotions through the story.
That's a great way to put it. It really elevates the storytelling and makes the emotions even stronger.
Okay, so we've covered a lot, but there's still more to come.
There is. Remember, this deep dive is about more than just analyzing the script. It's about connecting these ideas to our own lives, our relationship with time and technology, and how we understand the choices we make.
Right. We've been asking a lot of questions, but now it's time to hear from you, our listener. What are your thoughts on the ethical dilemmas we've talked about? What resonates with you about Alara's journey? What connections do you see between this fictional world and the challenges we face in the real world today?
We really want to hear your insights. And in the final part of this deep dive, we'll be looking at your responses and exploring those connections between echoes of the future and our own reality even further.
Stay tuned. And we are back for the final part of our deep dive into Echoes of the Future.
It's been a wild ride through time paradoxes and ethical dilemmas.
It has, and we've loved hearing all your thoughts and questions so far.
Seriously, you guys have blown us away with your insights.
So for this last part, we want to kind of shift the focus to you, our amazing listeners. We've been so impressed by your responses, and we're excited to dive into some of them.
It's always fascinating to see how the same story can spark such different reactions.
Right. It's like we're all time travelers in our own way, bringing our own unique experiences and perspectives to the conversation.
Exactly. And speaking of time travel, one of the recurring themes in your responses is that big question: if you had the power to change the past, would you?
Yeah, that's a question that's both exciting and terrifying at the same time.
Yeah.
Like on the one hand, imagine being able to right wrongs or prevent tragedies. Or even just like tweak a few small things for a better outcome.
Tempting, right? But as a lot of you pointed out, there's that whole butterfly effect thing to consider.
Right. Even a tiny change could ripple out and completely change the present.
Makes you think twice, doesn't it?
Totally. I keep thinking about that scene in the script where Alara talks about how interconnected time is.
Yeah.
She says something like, every moment is woven into the fabric of existence, and pulling on one thread can unravel the entire tapestry.
Whoa.
Pretty intense, right?
Yeah, it's a powerful image that really speaks to the potential chaos of messing with the past.
Right. And a bunch of you brought up real-world examples of unintended consequences, even when people were trying to do good.
Yeah, it's a good reminder that we can't always predict how our choices will play out.
No matter how much we plan.
Nope. Which is a pretty humbling thought when you really think about it.
Yeah, it makes you think maybe the past is best left alone. But then a lot of you also asked, what if we could use time travel for good? Like, what if we could stop a natural disaster or save lives?
Right. That's where the ethics get really tricky. Who decides which events are worth changing? And what about the potential for abuse?
It's a slippery slope for sure.
Big time.
Maybe the real value of time travel isn't about changing the past, but understanding it better.
Ooh, I like that.
One of you even said, perhaps the past is a teacher, not a playground.
That's a great way to put it.
It's about learning from our mistakes and using that knowledge to create a better future.
Absolutely.
And that kind of leads into another theme that's come up a lot in your responses, the psychological impact of time travel.
Right. A lot of you are really fascinated by how the script explores the potential for trauma and disorientation.
Which makes sense. It would be pretty messed up to jump around in time.
Yeah, Echoes of the Future doesn't shy away from that. We see Alara dealing with fragmented memories, distorted perceptions, and this feeling of being totally unmoored from reality.
Like she's lost her anchor.
Exactly. And it's not just the physical effects of time travel either.
Right. It's about the emotional and psychological toll it takes on a person's sense of self and their relationships with others.
A lot of you mentioned that scene where Alara meets her younger self.
Yeah, that's a mind-bending moment. It forces her to really confront her past her choices and who she's become.
Powerful stuff.
It makes you think even if we could time travel, our memories and experiences and our sense of self are all connected in a way that can't be easily undone.
And that brings us to another important theme you guys have highlighted, the importance of human connection, even in a futuristic world dominated by technology.
I love that so many of you picked up on the relationship between Alara and Ethan.
Me too. It's a great reminder that no matter how advanced our technology gets, those basic human needs for love, trust, and connection, those are still essential.
Absolutely. Their relationship is a perfect example of how the script goes beyond the sci-fi stuff and explores the real complexities of human interaction.
We see their bond tested by secrets, betrayals, and the weight of their experiences.
It's like the script is saying that even with time travel, AI, and all that, it's our relationships that really matter.
They ground us and give our lives meaning.
Which brings us to another big point that many of you have raised, the role of technology in shaping our future.
Right. Echoes of the Future paints a picture of a world where technology can manipulate time. But it also asks some tough questions about the consequences of that power.
It's like a mirror reflecting our own society.
Where we're dealing with rapid technological advancements and all the ethical dilemmas that come with them.
Okay, we have AI, gene editing, virtual reality, all these incredible tools. But are we using them responsibly? Are we thinking about the long-term impacts?
Those are questions we all need to be asking.
One listener put it perfectly. Technology is a double-edged sword. It has the power to solve our biggest problems, but also to create new ones we never even imagined.
That's so true.
It's a powerful reminder that we can't just blindly embrace new technologies.
We have to think about how they'll affect our lives, our relationships, and even society as a whole.
Exactly. And that's why stories like Echoes of the Future are so important.
They make us question our assumptions, spark our imaginations, and encourage us to have these critical conversations about the future we're building.
Well said.
Yeah.
So we've explored ethical dilemmas, the psychological impact of time travel, the complexities of human relationships, and the role of technology in shaping our future. I think we've covered pretty much everything.
I think so. It's been an awesome journey through Echoes of the Future, and we're seriously blown away by how much you guys have engaged with these ideas.
You've all impressed us with your insights and your willingness to really dive deep into these complex themes.
So thank you for joining us on this exploration. We hope it's made you curious, challenged your thinking, and maybe even left you with a sense of wonder about the possibilities and responsibilities that lie ahead.
And remember, whether you're a time traveler, a scientist, or just a regular person trying to figure things out, your choices matter. Make them count.
Until next time, keep exploring, keep questioning, and keep diving deep.